We're on October's episode. Just to make everybody aware, I'm 2-1 up, but I'm joined by Andy Johnson, who I've got a feeling is going to be good at Pure. So just as a bit of an intro, so Andy, My Pura, currently as CFO, ex-AO, and Nichols, everybody knows as Vipto, just to be clear on that. So off you go, Andy. I'll ask you the first question, which I ask everybody. I suppose, what is your favourite part of being an FD and why an FD?
Favourite part for me is the variety of the role. One day you can be, or one part of a day you can be getting stuck into transactions and how post things through our ledgers, versus today I've been speaking to investors to try and generate investment.
Yeah.
We're backed by PE, we're going through a fundraising round now.
Yeah.
So almost a bit of a salesman today in terms of selling shares.
Yeah, good, excellent. Like you go with the first shot, see how good you are.
Let's see how it goes.
It looks like you've always kind of found yourself in like operational type roles, well, kind of previous in your career. Was that by choice, or is that something you kind of fell into, or have you always really enjoyed that part of a role?
I'd say a bit of both have fallen into it.
Yeah.
My skill set is very much logical thinking, completer finisher type personality. And an ex-colleague who's now a friend said to me, to get to the top table, be good at 2 of the 3 major facets of business. So those 3 being sales, finance and operations was how he spoke to me about it.
Yeah.
He said be really good at 2 of the 3.
Yeah. So you say you're not good at sales?
Never seen myself as a salesman.
You just said you were doing some sales with Maven.
Selling shares, I'm not bad at. But we'll see how the fundraising goes in the next few weeks. So yeah, I've fallen into doing operations and supply chain after that. Let's see where we go here.
I haven't had a shot yet. I'm going to be blown away here, aren't I? I'm not going to be able to answer the questions. We're going to start getting some questions, and otherwise this could be very dangerous. So, next question. You've obviously made that move recently to My Pura, which obviously coming from being an AO and say so for everybody watching, but what's it been like, I suppose, the difference of moving from a giant to a smaller company that probably most people aren't aware of? And I suppose the second part to that, I know that they are now private equity backed, so what's that been like getting into? I think is your first time in PE, am I right?
Yeah.
So 2 questions for you. What's the difference been like, and what's it been like working for a PE backed business?
Difference is quite sizable. Clearly the different scales of the business is so much smaller where I'm working now versus the beast that is AO. For me as a personality, I think I can adapt quite well to happy to get my hands dirty if I have to, in terms of getting stuck into some of the more transactional type stuff that I will have done earlier in my career. And like I say, adapting to them being able to speak at the board table, that's what I've been building my career to be able to do. So different on a day-to-day perspective, they're doing a lot lower level items to begin with. Yeah. Now we're bringing in the team. As I've set up the finance function, we do have people who are doing that now, so I'm not doing that.
Yeah. Going into PE for the first time, I think it's Maven, isn't it?
It is, Maven, yeah.
So what's that been like? Has that been what you expected, or?
I did a bit of research in the interview process around PE, what were Maven like, and it's not for everybody. They drive you as an individual and as a management team to perform, and it's known PE are there for their returns. Yeah. If you're hitting your numbers, then it's a nice relationship. Yeah. If you're not hitting your numbers, then comes with a bit of pressure. Yeah. But for me, the shareholders, and they're there, we've got a common goal. They want to achieve, the management team want to achieve, and if you're not hitting your numbers, then you've got to answer some questions, and you have to.
Yeah. So, what would you say is kind of highlight of your career so far?
Personally, I'd say a highlight is being offered the roles that I've done, and then hopefully delivering what is expected of me.
Yeah.
Another highlight would be the teams that I've built and watching them develop, and watching individuals grow, and when I've left, them being promoted is a lovely feeling in terms of working with them and getting them ready for their next role. But something that sticks with me in terms of how I adapted and was challenged was working in supply chain and running the supply chain for Vimto. We went through a factory fire in the supply chain, how we'd managed that constraint and kept the Vimto products on the shelf. At the same time, we put in automation in our own factory to grow capacity during one of the hottest summers. So it was really difficult. We went backwards in terms of capacity to go forward, and was tough. And then there was a CO2 shortage in the UK at the same time as well. So almost disaster management and disaster recovery has stuck out as a highlight of how we did that, how we kept the supply chain going and came together as a team, because while the supply chain have got the constraints, how the sales team managed the customers, how the management team managed communications with the business and just kept motivating the team to be doing the right things and not panic. We had a chief executive at the time. It wasn't at the time, but a supportive chief executive who was experienced in supply chain was almost helped me manage through that and not giving me too much grief all the time, because it was like it was out of my hands, but had to provide the solutions in terms of how we're going to recover.
So management style. Everyone's got one. What would you say yours is like?
It's a good one to ask people who've worked with me in the past, but I set my challenge of being collaborative. So more around including people in what is the strategy of the function that I'm in. How are we going to motivate people? How do we align everybody to have one common goal? How that then fits into the strategy of the business, so people understand their part to play in the overall strategy of the business, and then can connect the dots as what I'm doing today, how that impacts the business going forward.
Don't feel like you need to mention names, but always good to hear kind of best managers you work with, and almost kind of what stood out so much about them in your head, kind of looking back. So over to you on that one. So best managers that stand out?
Managers I will call out, when I first moved into accountancy, I went straight from school. So I didn't go to university, was probably a little bit wet behind the ears. And this individual just coached me through that, protected me probably when I needed protecting in terms of errors of judgment, for example. Another one, when I moved out of practice into industry, working with the chief exec then, we didn't have a CFO as such, and the exposure I got to bringing in new investment, to going for dinner with the chief exec and the MDs was really a big part of shaping me in terms of how you are supposed to mature and how you are to act in those environments. And then lastly, I would call out the CFO of Vimto. I spent 10 years there, and again, a great influence on me in terms of I could be emotional. And the highs and lows of riding where you're going with your career and what's going on around you, and he was very much a calming influence over me. Huge influence for that, and a huge backer of me in terms of what would support me and what my career choices would be. In fact, I'll set it up for you so I don't pop one of those.
We'll work on it, I'm sure.
There you go.
So kind of similar flow to the last question. So, you may have already answered this a little bit, but single best piece of advice you've ever had? That's a terrible shot. Can you think of? I mean, you touched on quite a few things today already, but can you remember, or if everybody was kind of watching this at more of a kind of mid-junior level, what would you?
From a finance perspective.
Yeah. What would you kind of look back in your career and say, do you know what? I remember that, and they told me that, and it's always kind of stuck with me. Is there anything you can kind of think of that?
I think I was encouraged, and I would encourage others in finance to get a breadth of knowledge as well as a depth of knowledge.
Yeah.
What I mean by that is, if you want to become a specialist in a certain part of finance, then if you choose that career path, you can very quickly pigeonhole yourself into just being that specialist.
Yeah.
And I would say there's very few board members who will have done specialisms first. Yeah. That breadth of knowledge of what are the drivers of the business. Yeah. What sits behind whether you'll make the strategy or you won't achieve the strategy.
Yeah.
By getting that breadth of how the business actually operates, performs, not just reporting on performance.
Yeah.
Understand the business as much as you can.
Yeah. Businesses are operating in completely different ways, kind of post-COVID. COVID, bit of a dirty word now, we don't tend to talk about it as much, but always good to hear kind of how businesses have kind of set up and adapted, and what's kind of the modern day kind of way of working almost at My Pura now, how are they running things from a team perspective?
Using what happened in COVID, really, we are working on a hybrid model. There'll be times when we need to be in the office with a small team with big aspirations. So when you're trying to get ready for, we launch into boots next week.
Yeah, right.
So making sure that we've got the right products set up, we've got all the pricing models correct.
Yeah.
You can provide best solutions and speed of solutions when you're in it together.
Yeah, 100%,
Doing that over teams is difficult.
Yeah.
And so we've moved to a 1-2 days definitely in the office, where that's your collaboration time and your solution providing, and then you've got your admin space, and also quite relaxed over, we still have to go to the dentist or see the doctor appointments or whatever, and flexible around when people are working and when they're not.
Yeah. What's next for you? What's next for Andy Johnson?
Do what I can to deliver the success for Pura. I'm enjoying the role, I'm enjoying the business and the working relationships I've got, and I see it, we've got a huge future ahead of delivering what is in front of us, so knuckle down and deliver it.
Yeah. That's a great shot. I mean, I've been absolutely destroyed today. It's 2-2, he's brought it back. Final question, obviously accent gives it away, Scouser, so Liverpool or Evertonian?
Everton.
Evertonian.
Yeah.
Best player of all time for Everton?
I loved Big Nev when I was growing up,
Yeah.
because I was a goalkeeper, but the passion and the desire for Everton, it's got to be Big Dunk.
I was going to say Duncan Ferguson.
Yeah.
Actually a good player, yeah, I'll give you that one. Good. Excellent, Andy, pleasure.